Let's paint some landscapes using a limited color palette. For several years now, I have been running my own little art challenge. It takes place during the month of July, and it's all about using limited color palettes. Therefore, I dubbed it Huely, which is a play on words of hue and July. However, as life has gotten busy, I decided to do my 2025 challenge more or less under the wraps. So I basically went into the challenge without any set plans. No colour palettes were created beforehand and they weren't even shared. I had no set theme and only vaguely picked one when I started the first image. How many colour palettes or images I would create was also not decided. I did all of this to make sure that there was no pressure. No pressure to perform, no pressure to post on a specific day. If something took longer, well, then it took longer. There wasn't really any pressure to post at all. In fact, at the time of this recording, the imagery has only ever been uploaded to my Patreon and no other social media. The format I use for this challenge is also a bit unusual from my norm. Instead of creating a new file for each image, all of the images using the same color palette are in the same file. So I suppose in a way you can say I was painting a far too intricate thumbnail, though the canvas that I used is an A4 size, so it's not really thumbnail sized. Anyway, painting them all in one format also means that this video is a bit different from the ones I usually do. I figured it would be nice to zoom in on the actual drawings, but keep it in a wider shot for the sketches. And in case you're wondering, I did draw them in order, and when I had finished one, I did not go back and fix anything later on, even if I could spot the mistakes. In this challenge, I focused on using just 4 colours, though what I mean by that is that I'm sticking to 4 hues, in this case yellow, orange, green and blue. Yes, there are variations of the colours, but what has changed is the saturation and brightness, but the hue stays the same throughout. In some terms, that means that I'm using more colours, but if you think about it in terms of paint, if I painted an image using just 4 tubes of paint plus black and white, we wouldn't count the variations as separate colours. So yes, I do consider that I just used 4 colours, and in fact, one of these images, the second one, only use one colour as it's painted entirely using blues, even though I did use some yellow in there while I was painting, but I ended up removing it because I didn't like how it looked. Usually when I've done this challenge, I would pick a set number of colours and only use those plus black and white. The aim would often be to keep the colours pure, even though I sometimes use transparencies. However, when I do this, I tend to have planned things out properly beforehand. I would pick colour palettes and do my best to ensure that there's enough contrast between each colour. But like I said before, I was keeping things a bit more spontaneous this time around, so the planning stage didn't really happen. I decided on the colour palettes when I started the first image, though I might have had a vague idea of what colours I wanted in there. I think my base for this colour palette was a triadic colour harmony or a variation of a split complementary colour harmony. So it kinda started with orange, the blue and the green. The yellow was added to have another bright and kind of warm tone that could also work as a light source. What I am finding though is that I really miss having a red in this colour palette. I don't know why, but I kind of like having a red or a warm pink in my images these days. But again, this is a challenge, So removing that one colour I kinda like adding also adds to the challenge. Do you do art challenges? If so, what kind of challenge do you prefer? And would you ever do one that is colour based? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.